Welcome back to the Freedom File. Once again, I'm here with former federal prosecutor Doug Burns and civil and criminal defense attorney David Schwartz. I want to get right back to the conversation we're having about bribery in the case against Mayor Adams. Doug, to you first this time. Why is it that prosecutors can offer something of value to a witness to tailor the witness's testimony, and if anybody else did that, like defense counsel, he'd be indicted for witness tampering?
Well, it's the word tailor, which has a little bit of room to argue in both.
But you've been through this. You know it's tailoring.
Of course. But the fact of the matter is, they make the lame argument, oh, no. All we're doing is offering you some leniency in return for the truth. And, of course, I'm smiling because who determines what the truth is when you're sitting in that conference room? So you're right. I mean, of course. I mean, the prosecutor wants to hear what they want to hear. They want to hear inculpatory information against the bigger player in the case. If they don't hear that, all of a sudden they're not going to be lenient. If they start hearing that, then they're happy and they will be lenient. So I don't disagree with your scholarship, your writing about this bribery concept, but at the same time, the criminal justice system would just completely fall on its face.
David, this is another sword of Damocles situation, right, is it not, where the prosecutor holds the sword of Damocles over the witness's head.
Right.
If you testify the way we want, we don't prosecute you, or we enter into a lame plea agreement. But if the words don't come out of your mouth that we like, we go back to prosecuting you full bore. If you made a threat like that or an offer like that to a witness, the government would come after you.
Right. So as a former prosecutor, that the scenario you laid out, Judge, is a bad prosecutor.
Right.
You know, sometimes there are meritorious situations where you need a cooperating witness. When you have a felony murder and you take the driver of that murder and you get them to testify truthfully as to what they saw, what they heard in that situation.
But truthfully means whatever the prosecutor wants to hear.
In a lot of cases, but I know when I was a prosecutor, when Doug was a prosecutor, you're interviewing a defendant and they tell you their whole story, and then you say, okay, we're going to make you into a cooperating witness to take down the other two defendants. That's a meritorious situation, and that happens most of the time. What you laid out is a situation in reality that does happen, and that's unfortunate, Judge.
Yeah, Doug, let's get back to Mayor Adams. Is there a sword of Damocles hanging over his head right now as we speak?
There is, because of this language in the memo that I held up saying we're going to reevaluate this case after the mayoral election. That never should have been put in that memo. If you take that out and it's just, it's without prejudice, to the world at large, yeah, it seems that way, but honestly, all cases are dismissed that way, so it's really not. This is why politics and law don't mix, Judge. I've said that a million times.
Right. David, how bad does it look when 7 prosecutors ordered to do something by Washington, each refused to do it and resign? And in the case of several of them, I only know them by reputation, their reputations are extraordinary and excellent. One of them so good, Danielle Sassoon, she was just made the temporary head of the office by none other than Donald Trump himself.
Well, first of all, it's not unusual that prosecutors resign. But in this particular case, these prosecutors were prosecuting a case which I believe they were forced to prosecute in the first place, because no prosecutor in their right mind would prosecute a case like this against Mayor Adams for the allegations that were contained in that indictment. So what was trying to be done is to really using the wrong way to undo a wrong in the first place. Obviously, it's a blow to the Justice Department where you have good line prosecutors resigning from their job. But you know what? There's a lot of lawyers out there. There'll be new lawyers to take their jobs.
Doug, should the court go along with this, or should the court say, I'm not going to have anything to do with these political shenanigans, I'm going to dismiss it with prejudice?
Yeah, well, there's a huge conundrum, which is the judge has the right legally to inquire into whether he or she thinks that the deal was improper, but it leaves them nowhere. They can't force the government to do the case. So to your point, the judge is going to say, because technically, be a little bit of a nerd in the weeds. I don't think technically the judge can direct the dismissal that way. It's up to the prosecutors. Judge should say, guys, you should seriously consider dismissing this with prejudice. Let's take a 10-minute break. We'll come back. You tell me what you want to do.
We're going to take a 2-minute break, and when we come back, we will delve even more deeply into all of this when the Freedom File returns.